Do you still remember Megan Fox, the sex bomb who once sent Hollywood spinning after Transformers 2007? Yet behind all that fame, she suddenly disappeared. No major scandals, no standout films, just a handful of rare everyday photos that left the public stunned. Megan was brutally bullied for her looks, struggled with deep insecurities, and even shocked everyone when she called director Michael Bay a literal Hitler. So what really happened? These never-before-seen private photos will reveal the parts of her story you've never heard. Keep watching to uncover the truth behind the image of one of the most iconic sex symbols of the decade. Megan Fox was born on May 16, 1986 in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, into a family that was far from perfect. Her father, Franklin Thomas Fox, worked as a parole officer. Her mother, Gloria Darlene, was in real estate. The marriage didn't last. When Megan was just 3 years old, her parents split, leaving an invisible mark of brokenness on the little girl. After the divorce, her mother remarried and the family moved to Port St. Lucie, Florida. But it wasn't the sunny, carefree childhood paradise people imagine Florida to be. Inside that home, strict religious rules sat above everything else. Megan and her sister Christy lived under the tight control of her mother and stepfather, Tony Tenaccio. Sometimes that control bordered on bizarre. Megan once recalled that her mother made her wear a dark wig at age 2 and dyed her natural blonde hair dark when she was only 5 because she didn't like her daughter's blonde hair. Her stepfather, a deeply conservative Pentecostal, banned her from bringing friends home and strictly forbade dating. Living in such a rigid environment made Megan tense and fragile. Panic attacks and bursts of anger began appearing as her body's response to constant pressure. Yet beneath all that heaviness, a tiny dream flickered. At just 3 years old, Megan watched The Wizard of Oz for the first time. Seeing Dorothy walk down the yellow brick road filled her with a spark. One day, she wanted to be part of the magical world of movies. At 5, Megan began dancing lessons in Kingston. She joined the drama club, sang in the choir, and even swam on the school team. Cities changed, but her love for the arts didn't. When the family moved to St. Petersburg at age 10, she continued dancing with a level of seriousness rarely seen in a child. 3 years later, at just 13, she stepped into the world of modeling, a path no one expected a shy girl like her to pursue. She won several awards at a talent competition in South Carolina in 1999. At the same time, Megan attended a Christian high school where mockery, gossip, and bullying were part of daily life. With her striking looks and introverted nature, she seemed too different to belong. To avoid the terrifying lunch breaks where kids threw ketchup packets at her, Megan often ate in the bathroom. She believed the problem wasn't her appearance or the attention she drew. It was something simpler. She got along better with boys, liked talking and playing with them, and that alone was enough to make many of the girls resent her. One Halloween memory Megan shared still sends chills. A girl came to school wearing a tight black leather outfit. Everyone assumed she was dressed as Catwoman, but the girl calmly said, "No, I'm Megan Fox." It was a cruel mockery. Megan didn't react. No argument, no anger. She simply shrank into herself as she always did. Eventually, at 17, Megan decided she couldn't continue living like that. She dropped out of school and moved to Los Angeles to chase her dream.
Megan's acting career began in 2001. Even before moving to Los Angeles, she made her debut in Holiday in the Sun, alongside the Olsen twins, playing a beautiful but snobbish girl who constantly disrupts the main character's life. At the time, the Olsens had a massive fan base, and although the film was released straight to DVD, it still created a positive buzz for a young actress full of potential. Before turning 17, Megan already had an impressive acting resume with a series of guest roles. She appeared briefly in the Swedish TV series Ocean Ave, and later landed a small part in Amanda Bynes' sitcom What I Like About You. These roles weren't big, but they all proved one thing. Megan had the energy of a future star. In 2003, fate brought her to director Michael Bay when she was invited to appear in Bad Boys 2. Her role was tiny, just a few seconds in a nightclub, but that moment would become the turning point that opened the door to something much bigger. Later on, 2004 marked an important milestone in Megan's journey. For the first time, she joined a larger-scale film project, Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen. In this colorful musical comedy, Megan played Carla Santini, the beautiful but formidable rival of Lindsay Lohan's character. That same year, she became more familiar to TV audiences, from CBS's 2.5 Men to WB's The Help and ABC's sitcom Hope and Faith, where Megan portrayed Sydney Shanofsky, one of her first major recurring roles. It was also the performance that earned her a nomination for Best Supporting Actress at the Young Artist Awards. It was on the set of Hope and Faith that 18-year-old Megan met Brian Austin Green, the star of Beverly Hills 90210. What seemed like an ordinary encounter turned into a life-changing moment. Megan admitted that she fell for Brian the very first time she saw him. But unlike her immediate feelings, Brian wasn't thinking about love at all. He had just gone through a painful breakup with Vanessa Marcil, and he was troubled by the large age gap between them, a 30-year-old man and a young woman who had just stepped into adulthood. But there was something special about Megan, a rare kind of unwavering steadiness. She wasn't pushy, she wasn't trying too hard, she simply let her true self show. Slowly, Brian was drawn in by her sincerity. What changed him completely was the way Megan treated Cassius, his young son with Vanessa. She didn't try to win him over, didn't try to play the role of a replacement mother. She approached him with the natural warmth of a friend. Brian once said, "I thought we weren't going to be serious," but Megan was so steady. She was young but mature in her own way. Their love grew quietly but steadily. No drama, no showing off, yet strong enough to overcome doubts and pressure from both sides. To Megan, Brian was more than just a boyfriend. He was her first true love, the place where she felt safe and understood. In 2006, Brian proposed. Megan said yes immediately. When the news broke, many publications called them Hollywood's beautiful couple, a perfect blend of fiery allure and grounded maturity.
Real success came to Megan in 2007 thanks to her breakout role in Michael Bay's blockbuster Transformers. When Bay and Steven Spielberg first started shaping the concept for the project, Megan was just one among hundreds of young hopefuls. But her boldness, attitude, and sharp magnetic presence made her the perfect choice to become Michaela Baines, the dream girl archetype for an entire generation of late 2000s moviegoers. At that time, Spielberg, who had loved Transformers since childhood, served as executive producer. He insisted on preserving the franchise's original spirit, maturity, responsibility, and the delicate relationship between humans, machines, and war. Michael Bay, on the other hand, wasn't initially interested. He thought it was nothing more than a kid's toy movie. But after visiting Hasbro headquarters and witnessing the intricately designed robot world, Bay changed his mind. He wanted to create a cinematic experience no one had ever seen before. That shift became Megan's gateway into a major studio film with a massive $200 million budget, an astonishing figure back in 2007. Interestingly, Spielberg enforced a strict rule. No actor would be paid more than $70,000 for the first film. If it's a hit, you'll earn what you deserve in the sequels, he said. This pushed the mostly young cast to give everything they had, and they succeeded. Transformers grossed $709 million worldwide, becoming the fifth highest-grossing film of the year. One of the core reasons for the film's success was the almost scientific precision of its visuals. A team of 80 VFX specialists spent months calculating the exact mechanics of each robot's movement. When Optimus Prime or Bumblebee transformed, every part, every metal plate had its own place, logic, and trajectory. Nothing was random or sloppily simulated. For 2007, this set an entirely new industry standard, one that many modern blockbusters still struggle to match. Amid this whirlwind of success, Megan became the center of attention. The image of Michaela, tan skin, striking gaze, strength mixed with rebellious charm turned her into Hollywood's newest sex symbol. She received an MTV Movie Award nomination for Breakthrough Performance along with 3 Teen Choice Award nominations. Yet behind the spotlight, Megan viewed her own performance with humility. "I was terrible. It was my first big movie, and I'm not proud of what I did." Beneath that harsh self-critique were the pressures she faced from Michael Bay. The notoriously demanding director disliked actresses who were too thin, claiming he had been traumatized in the past. Megan was forced to gain 8 to 10 pounds before each shoot, staying in her chubbiest form throughout the production. The tension between them later became a favorite topic for the tabloids. As Transformers catapulted Megan to stardom, FHM quickly named her the sexiest woman in the world in 2008. Yet her personal life began to crack. Megan and Brian Austin Green were already engaged, but her relentless work schedule pushed them further apart. When paparazzi photographed her without her ring, breakup rumors became inevitable. Around the same time, she was caught in speculation about a romance with co-star Shia LaBeouf, something both of them stayed silent about back then. Years later, she quietly admitted, "I loved him, it was a real romantic connection." But Megan and Brian's story wasn't over. 10 months apart made them realize they still belonged together. Brian proposed again, and Megan said yes. During this period, she appeared in 2 mid-tier projects, How to Lose Friends and Alienate People, and Whore. Neither film made much of an impact, largely because Megan had signed on before Transformers exploded in popularity. It explained why a rising star suddenly appeared in projects that seemed beneath her new status. However, that brief lull didn't last long. Megan soon stepped into another wave of major releases: Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, and Jennifer's Body, the feminist-charged horror film that would later become a cult classic.
In 2009, in Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, Fox, as expected, returned as Michaela Baines. Once again, Michael Bay's demands pushed her past her breaking point. In an interview with The Telegraph, Fox revealed a shocking hidden truth. She compared Michael Bay to a real Hitler. For a young rising actress, that was the kind of statement that could wipe out an entire career. She said Bay demanded that she gain weight according to his standards and that she maintain a perfectly deep tan he envisioned. To Fox, it no longer felt like acting. It felt like being molded into someone else's idea. Then, with just one interview, everything exploded. Several sources claimed Megan was fired at the order of Steven Spielberg, the franchise's executive producer. Michael Bay later publicly stated that Spielberg told him, "Fire her, immediately." Megan's side, however, told a different story. She walked away from the project because she could no longer tolerate the control and treatment she faced. To this day, the question of who fired whom remains a mystery. Each side tells a different version, and audiences are left stuck between fragments of truth and half-truths. Just as Megan once said, "Believe whatever you want to believe." When Transformers 3 began production, Fox was no longer part of the cast. The lead female role was handed to Rosie Huntington-Whiteley. As fans debated fiercely, Megan's life moved into an entirely new chapter. Amid the turmoil in her career, the infamous Hollywood crime group known as the Bling Ring broke into the home of Brian Austin Green, Megan's boyfriend at the time. Between 2008 and 2009, the group carried out over 50 burglaries targeting celebrities. Paris Hilton suffered the most, losing $3 million in valuables and being robbed multiple times. It was a period of unease across Hollywood, and Megan found herself dragged into scandals she never asked for. But 2009 wasn't all chaos. After the first 2 Transformers films, Fox landed her first leading role with Jennifer's Body, a dark comedy with a diabolic signature of screenwriter Diablo Cody. The film wasn't an immediate success upon release, but over time it became a cult classic, especially among female audiences. Viewers began to see Megan as more than just a pretty face. They saw an actress with her own energy, willing to take risks. Diablo Cody later said the box office failure was the result of a misguided marketing campaign. The studio targeted young men while ignoring the film's strong feminist message. Still, Megan earned a very high paycheck, $5 million, showing that Hollywood was still betting on her. That same year, she ventured into a completely different genre with Jonah Hex, a cowboy superhero film starring Josh Brolin, John Malkovich, and Michael Fassbender. Unfortunately, the movie became a box office disaster. It was so heavily criticized that it was labeled Worst Film of the Year and earned 2 Razzie nominations for Worst Actress and Worst Screen Couple. If anything kept Megan grounded during those chaotic years, it was her blunt, sometimes impulsive, but disarmingly honest attitude. She had appeared in the famous music video Love the Way You Lie by Eminem and Rihanna, but her roles during that period still weren't enough to ignite a new breakthrough in her career. Megan herself was fully aware of that. In Passion Play, a film mercilessly criticized by the public, her co-star Mickey Rourke bluntly called it another terrible movie. And yet Fox praised Rourke endlessly, even getting a tattoo dedicated to him. "He's so sincere and talented that I love him with all my heart," she said. For Megan, each project, whether a hit or a failure, carried its own personal meaning. Perhaps that's why Fox has such a deep love for tattoos. She once joked, "All my boyfriends have to have tattoos. If they don't, I'll make them tattoo my name or my face." Today, Megan has around 10 tattoos, each one like a story from a different version of herself. On her back is a quote from Shakespeare's King Lear, "We will all laugh at gilded butterflies." On her right hip is a quote from Nietzsche, "And those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music." A tattoo dedicated to Mickey Rourke. But perhaps the most famous one was the Marilyn Monroe portrait on her right arm, inked when she was very young. Megan adored Marilyn Monroe from childhood. After watching all of Marilyn's films, she became fascinated by the 1950 sex symbol. But as she grew older, she decided to remove the tattoo, believing it would help her avoid the negative energy that had surrounded Marilyn's short, tragic final years. "I was stubborn and thought I would love that tattoo forever, or that it would be a diary of my life of everything I loved when I was young, but that's not how it turned out. I'm removing it." She was a figure surrounded by negative energy.
The wedding took place on June 24th at the Four Seasons Resort in Maui, Hawaii. It was a secret ceremony with only close friends and family invited. No fireworks, no noise, no paparazzi lenses. Just the sound of the Pacific Ocean and the sea breeze sweeping across the golden sand to witness their moment. Cassius, Brian's 8-year-old son, stood beside his father like a gentle reminder that even imperfect families can begin again in beautiful ways. Megan walked in barefoot on the sand, wearing a simple white dress that glowed under the Hawaiian sun. In her hands was a bouquet of white roses mixed with gardenias, understated, pure, and perfectly matching the softness she carried in that moment. Brian looked at her with a rare certainty in his eyes and read his vows. He had never believed in anything as strongly as he believed in marrying her, and this would be the beginning of a hopeful life they would build together. Their honeymoon took place right there at the resort, where they spent a few slow days together before returning to the familiar whirlwind of daily life. 2 years later, their first son, Noah, was born, marking a warm, new chapter in their family story. Yet Megan's career at this time didn't progress in a way that matched the expectations set after Transformers. Her comedic roles in Friends with Kids and This Is 40 weren't strong enough to prove her acting range. She was still viewed more as a media celebrity than a true performer. Labels like sex symbol or the next Angelina Jolie further boxed her in, making it hard for audiences to see the many layers beneath Megan's public persona. She openly expressed her frustration at constantly being compared to Angelina Jolie. Jolie was calm and icy, while Megan was playful, sometimes joking to the point where her words were easily misunderstood in an era of out-of-context quotes. "Sarcasm doesn't translate well in print," she once said, offering an explanation for years of misinterpretation. Megan also rejected being forced into the mold of the strong warrior woman like Jolie. In 2013, Megan appeared in a Brahma beer commercial for Brazilian television. But that wasn't the biggest event of the year. The real surprise was that Fox and Michael Bay buried the hatchet and reunited for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where Megan took on the role of reporter April O'Neil, a very significant character. In an interview with the press, Megan shared, "I've always loved Michael. We had conflicts in the past, but even when I spoke up about the difficulties between us, I always said that I had a special bond with him. He can be very sensitive, and he's actually very likable. I've always said that, but sometimes we clashed because we're both strong-willed and stubborn." Despite receiving countless negative reviews from critics, the film performed extremely well at the box office. With a production budget of $150 million, it grossed nearly $500 million. In 2015, Fox voiced Amelia Delphonis in the game Stormfall: Rise of Balor by Plarium. And in October of the same year, she was confirmed as a temporary replacement for Zooey Deschanel in the sitcom New Girl. She played Reagan Lucas in seasons 5 and 6, and her performance was well received by both audiences and critics. Fox continued to play April O'Neil in the 2016 sequel to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Unfortunately, the second film did not match the success of the first. The budget increased, but the box office revenue dropped by nearly half.
In 2019, Fox returned with Above the Shadows, a fantasy mystery film directed by Claudia Myers. Alongside Olivia Thirlby and Alan Ritchson, Fox delivered a performance with more emotional depth than many of her earlier roles. The film was so well received by Brooklyn audiences that it won the Audience Award, a small but meaningful milestone in Fox's career at the time. That same year, she appeared in James Franco's Zeroville, a project that once seemed poised to mark a major artistic shift, but instead became a forgettable setback. Filming began in 2014, yet the movie sat on the shelf for years after the production company went bankrupt. When it finally premiered, Zeroville was critically slammed, bombed at the box office, and even earned 3 Razzie nominations. Amid that disappointment, Fox continued appearing in a few streaming-only action films, but their low quality did little to revive her reputation. Still, throughout the setbacks, Megan held on to a strange kind of determination. She refused to stay trapped in the sex symbol box the media had placed her in for so many years. "I like playing crazy people," Fox admitted. "Any female character with a complicated psyche excites me." Motherhood shifted her perspective, especially her sense of responsibility toward the roles that might one day embarrass her children. This newfound maturity quietly reshaped her career, making her more cautious, more selective, and more private. In early 2020, Fox appeared in the family film Think Like a Dog, which was released through premium VOD instead of theaters. A year later, she made a surprisingly strong comeback with 3 thrillers: Midnight in the Switchgrass, co-starring Bruce Willis, Till Death, widely considered her strongest performance in years, and Night Teeth, released directly on Netflix. The first 2 titles even had posters displayed in select European theaters, giving her a rare glimmer of spotlight. Night Teeth, however, was mostly discovered through streaming. In 2022, Fox appeared in Big Gold Brick, the ambitious debut feature of director Brian Petsos, but its bold, eccentric storytelling and awkward attempts at artfulness were rejected by audiences, and the film became a major flop. On the personal front, in May 2020, Brian Austin Green announced that he and Megan had separated after nearly a decade together. A year later, their marriage officially ended. Their 3 sons, born in 2012, 2014, and 2016, have since become Megan's top priority. After giving birth to her first child, Megan completely immersed herself in motherhood, and just 10 months later, the couple announced they were expecting their second baby. Later, Megan admitted in an interview that none of their children had been planned. Both she and Brian believed in fate and a bit of luck. But the second pregnancy wasn't as easy as the first. During that period, Megan was filming while caring for a toddler, and the pressure kept building. After their second child was born, the cracks they had long tried to ignore finally became visible. By late summer 2015, the public was stunned to learn that Megan had filed for divorce and requested full custody of both children. For many, it felt like the collapse of what once looked like a peaceful family. In this story, it's impossible not to mention Cassius, Brian's son from his previous marriage. Megan had helped raise him since he was 3, and she considered herself a real stepmother. She never flaunted it or demanded recognition. Megan simply took on everything quietly. Bedtime stories, school drop-offs, teaching, caring, and loving him as if he were her own. But that quiet devotion often left her feeling hurt when people failed to acknowledge her true role in his life. As for the root of their marital problems, those close to the couple said Megan was worn down by Brian's controlling nature.
He wanted her to spend most of her time at home, which clashed with her desire to return to acting and continue growing as an individual. Megan, meanwhile, preferred a more open, expressive way of raising their kids. Noah was allowed to wear dresses if he wanted to, and all three children grew up in a lively, sometimes chaotic, but honest household. Megan once joked, "My house is like a UFC match happening all day long. Anything can become a weapon."
Then, something unexpected happened. While the divorce paperwork was still ongoing, Megan became pregnant with their third child. The news forced both of them to rethink everything. For the sake of their kids, they decided to give their relationship another chance. Megan withdrew the divorce petition, and the two started over. Looking back, Brian later shared with a sense of relief, "We're not perfect, but we have 3 amazing kids and a relationship worth fighting for." Divorce can sometimes be the right choice, but this time we chose to stay and try a little harder every day.